I ranked every single video game I played in 2024. Hello everyone, as I just said, today I'm going to be ranking every single video game I played in 2024. Had to say it twice. This is similar to my movies video where I ranked every single movie I watched in 2023, and for the most part, these two videos are going to be fairly similar, but just to spice things up a bit, I will not be ranking these games in an A to F tier system, which is what I used for my movies video. So instead, I will be ranking the games on an out of 10 system. 0 out of 10 being the worst, and 10 out of 10 being the best. Now, a couple rules. 1. Mobile games and demos will be included in this video, however, web browser games and softwares will not be included. The last rule is that the game doesn't need to be a game that I played for the very first time this year. As long as I played it this year, it will be on here. Now, before we start, I would like to say that these are just my opinions. You may disagree with stuff I say about certain games, and that's fine, just don't bug me about it. So, with that out of the way, let's begin. Our first game is Garry's Mod. Okay. Name one bad thing about this game that cannot be fixed with a mod. Name one. This game is great. I don't think I need to explain what Garry's Mod is, but just to give you a quick idea on what this game is about, name one thing you want to do. Drop a bomb on a city? Boom, you can do that. Drive a car into a massive toilet? Boom, you can do that. Want to commit a war crime? Hell, I've done that even before I got the game. Anything you can think of can be done on this game, which is why it's the first and currently the only game to have over 1,000 hours of playtime on it on Steam. So of course, this game is getting a 10 out of 10. Cyberpunk 2077. This game had a massive glow up from the videos I've seen of its release. It was super buggy, but now it is really, really good. In fact, if my Steam review is anything to go by, it shows that I really enjoyed this game. Similar to Garry's Mod, you can do lots of stuff in this game. I had lesbian sex 6 times in this game. I can give my female character a penis and vice versa for the man. You can do lots in this game. Character customization, especially with cyberware, is through the roof. The characters are also amazing along with the story. The driving is just so nice, and the designs of the cars just really fit the aesthetic. Also, Night City is probably one of the most detailed maps in a video game ever. Also, the Edge Runners show was amazing. It actually reignited my interest in the game, as before I watched the show I had 6 hours on the game and now I have almost 80. This game is fantastic. 10 out of 10 game. Grand Theft Auto 5. I don't think I need to explain how good this game is. Everyone who has played this has loved this game. The story and the campaign is really fun and really well made. And then there's online, which I don't normally play public, I usually do private sessions with friends, but it is really fun with friends, and I am really excited to see how GTA 6 turns out. 9 out of 10 game. Borderlands 3. Okay, I am not the biggest Borderlands fan, I just enjoy Claptrap. I played this with my friend Fiends Hyper, who is a fan of the series, and he also gifted me the game. And while I did play it with him for like an hour, it's alright. I wouldn't play it on my own, but I guess I could play it with Fiends Hyper once or twice more. The gameplay isn't exciting enough for me, and the only thing going for it is Claptrap. I'm giving this a 4 out of 10. The Last of Us Part 1. This game is amazing. I love the chemistry between Ellie and Joel and how it progresses over the story. It's really funny and cute at the same time. The graphics and attention to detail are also stunning. The gun mechanics and the NPCs are through the roof, and I would highly recommend this game to anyone. Respect to Naughty Dog for actually remastering this game rather than just slapping on some better graphics, as if you take a look at different versions of the game, The Last of Us Part 1 actually has some differences in character design and the world. There is also a Left 4 Dead and Portal shirt in the game, which is really cool, so I'm giving this a 10 out of 10. Nier Automata. I thought this game would be better. It's alright. Some parts are pretty good, the combat is alright, but it gets old fairly quickly, but the large scale boss fights are pretty fun, but I mostly find this game uninteresting. This is probably a 4 out of 10 game. Team Fortress 2. Okay, this game has held the title of my favorite game numerous times now, and for good reason. It's really fun. It's a really fun game to play, especially after Valve finally removed all the bots after almost 4 years. And of course, I don't think I even need to talk about the characters. They're just all extremely funny, and it's really cool how Valve basically pioneered these characters in shooter games actually having personalities to them. TF2 is also where I met my friends Zolt, Some Idoid, and Flaming Jadine, so shout out to those three. This is definitely a 10 out of 10 game. Red Dead Redemption 2. Similar to Gary's mod, name one bad thing about this game. It's fantastic. It's basically a cardinal sin for me not to speak in a cowboy accent while playing this game. I love this game. The characters are amazing, and Arthur is by far the most human fictional character in any sort of media. And everything else about this game is fantastic. The story, the graphics, the world, the NPCs, everything. This is definitely a 10 out of 10 game. Life is Strange Remastered. I've already made a video about how fantastic this game is, so go and check that video out. This is my favorite game and by far the best game I've ever played, and I think it's the best game I'll ever play. And some of my friends can even back that up. They were sort of hesitant to play it when I was playing it a bunch, but when they actually did give it a try, they all said it was one of the best games they've ever played. Everything, and I mean everything about this game is amazing. I beg you guys to play this game. The first episode is free, so download it and play it for a bit. You won't regret it. This is 100% without a doubt a 10 out of 10 game, and I'm sure those who have played it and those of you who will play it will agree with me. Detroit Become Human. Yet another fantastic choices game. This is a really, really good game. The androids actually act like androids from the start, but progressively get, or become, human over the course of the story. Connor and Hank are also a really good duo alongside Kara and Alice. I honestly really like the paths you can go down in this story. This is a 10 out of 10 game. Spider-Man Remastered. I can't really think of a way to describe this game other than this way. Graphics and detail, great. Swinging around New York City, extremely fun. Combat, unentertaining and repetitive. Missions, most of them are boring. I'm giving this game a 4 out of 10. Minecraft. What is there to say about Minecraft? It's Minecraft. Do whatever you want. It's like Gary's mod. But this game isn't completely off the hook. For some reason, and I'm not sure if it's only my laptop, but every time there is an update, it removes all my skins, servers, and most annoyingly of all of my worlds. Last year, I had a pretty good pixel art world that I was working on, and boom! Just like that, it was removed. I have searched far and wide to find an answer to fix this, and I can't, so yeah. This doesn't happen on my computer, but it only happens on my laptop, so maybe there's something there that I need to look for, but anyway. Minecraft is still a really good game, so I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. Eyes of Memes. I know in my Eyes of Memes video I said this game was pretty good, and it is. At the start, it's funny yet scary at the same time, but once you've played enough rounds, it gets pretty boring and repetitive. 3 out of 10 game. South Park The Fractured Butthole Bring the Crunch. This is the DLC to South Park The Fractured Butthole, which is a really good game, but the DLC is less good. Yeah, it can be pretty funny from time to time, and even the combat scenes can be pretty good, but that's about it. My biggest disappointment was Mintberry Crunch. I was pretty excited to finally play as him, only to realize he's mainly a support class. No combat at all. I guess it's not that bad, but I just prefer combat based classes, so I'm giving this DLC a 5 out of 10. Phasmophobia. This game is really good and can be very scary sometimes, and even intense if you're alone in a dark house and your lights start flickering and you hear a ghost. My only complaint is that sometimes the game isn't clear enough on how to use certain tools and such, but other than that, this is still a really good game, so I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. Half-Life. Where do I even begin with this game? It's amazing. I love it so much. The game is over 25 years old and yet it's still so much fun to play. The story, the characters, and the gun mechanics are all really good, and I encourage people to play this game. My only problems is that the Zen levels are really not that interesting, which I'm not the only person to say that, so other than that, this game is probably a 9 out of 10. Poker Night at the Inventory 2. Man, I wish this game was still up on Steam. For those of you who don't know, Poker Night at the Inventory was a series of games where you'd play poker with different characters. In the second game, you could play with Ash Williams, Brock Sampson, Sam, and Claptrap, and even characters like Steve, Moxie, Max, and GLaDOS would make appearances in this game. It's really funny seeing these characters interact with each other, and it's such a shame we can't play this game for a cheap price anymore. The only problem I have with the game is that after a while, it gets pretty annoying when you get scolded by GLaDOS every single time you make a move. This is probably an 8 out of 10 game. Life is Strange Before the Storm Remastered. This game came along with the remastered version of Life is Strange, and while it did take me a while to finally play it, I really enjoyed it. It's nice to finally see Rachel Amber in more than just pictures and stories. Just like the original Life is Strange, this game is really wholesome and fantastic. We also get a better look at characters like Chloe and Nathan Prescott, and even Frank. It's honestly worth the play. 10 out of 10 game. Teardown. Okay, so if you've been a fan of my channel for a while, or simply just browse my channel every now and then, you'll probably realize that Teardown is a massive part of my channel's blow up in 2021. However, over the years, Teardown has gotten a lot more boring. Over time, the destruction, well, you just sort of get used to it. But there's the workshop, right? You can download stuff off the workshop and muck around with that in Sandbox. Yeah, you could, but as of recently, the workshop has become a lot more boring. Not as much entries, and the few that do come out of there are, well, boring. Not to mention the greedy motherfuckers down at Saber Interactive who price gouged this game to hell and back and added a bunch of overpriced and useless DLCs. Overall, this was fun to me, and I do hold it close to my heart. And while I wish I could give this a 10 out of 10, which is something I would have done years ago, I'm just gonna give it a 3 out of 10 because of everything that's happened. Half-Life 2. I used to love this game back in 2020 and 2021, and I still do love it. But playing this after playing Half-Life 1, don't get me wrong, this game is still hella fun to me. But after playing Half-Life 1, I got used to being able to skip through NPC dialogue rather than just sitting there awkwardly. And the guns. The guns feel less powerful than the ones in Half-Life 1. I'm not saying Half-Life 2's guns are bad, in fact, I think they're really good. It's just they seem less powerful than the ones in Half-Life 1. But don't get me wrong, Half-Life 2 is still extremely fun, and I love being able to fling stuff at enemies with the gravity gun. Then there's the fact that this game turned 20 years old last year, and yet it still holds up extremely well, both graphics wise and mechanics wise. So I'm giving this game a 9 out of 10. Wallace and Gromit Grand Adventures. Okay, so I love Wallace and Gromit, but this game is so-so. The dialogue is good and some other parts are enjoyable, but this game is mostly just a walking simulator and I find it extremely boring. I'm giving this a 2 out of 10. Just Cause 4. I don't understand why a lot of people hate this game. Yeah, there are some features that were in the previous games that were removed in this game. However, that's no reason to call this game the worst in the series. There's still a lot of fun to be had in this game, especially with the weather system and flying around while blowing stuff up, not to mention how big this map is. This is definitely an 8 out of 10. Day of Defeat Source. I bought this game, well actually it was my friend Zolt who gifted it to me, so shout out to you, to see how good it was and to make a video on it. And let me tell you, it's pretty good. Certainly not one of Valve's best, but it's good enough to where you can have some fun with it every once in a while. I have had plenty of funny experiences with in fact, other than the fact that I suck at this game, the only downside of it is that it's oftentimes hard for me to tell who's a teammate and who is an enemy, which has led to me killing teammates for mistaking them for being enemies. Other than that, the game is good. Not great, but good. 5 out of 10 game. Moving on from Day of Defeat Source, the Counter-Strike Source. And I basically have the same opinions. I suck at the game, community can be pretty funny, however there is one difference, and that's the fact that there's a lot less people playing on Aussie servers compared to Day of Defeat, so I end up playing with the AI more than public servers. However, I will be giving this game a 6 out of 10 because it helped me fix my textures in Gary's mod. BeamNG Drive. Okay, I sat on my couch for like 10 minutes trying to think of something to say about this game. All you do is crash cars and stuff, that's basically it. It's pretty good. The car destruction simulation is very good. Although it does seem a bit too good and somewhat over exaggerated. Other than that, the game's pretty fun. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. Stormworks. This game's pretty fun to play with friends. However, there are some problems. One, it's very easy to lag the game. And let me tell you, when this game lags, it is a pain. The next thing is that the planes are pretty hard to fly. But other than those two problems, this is a pretty fun game to mess around with friends. 5 out of 10 game. VR chat. This game is pretty fun to play. You can do whatever you want, be whoever you want. It's almost like the Oasis from Ready Player One. The only downside to the game is the amount of kids there are, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but when you're not playing with friends, I want to talk with someone a bit more mature or someone my age, which is gonna be difficult when most of the lobby is children. I know I've been pretty positive with this game, but I'm giving it a 6 out of 10 because, well, I don't think it deserves an 8 or a 9. My City Entertainment Tycoon. This is a mobile game I play all the time when I'm on the bus. It's a great time waster and you should definitely try it out. The only problem is that there's a lot more potential to the game, but the devs have since abandoned it. 9 out of 10 game. Slither.io. This is the mobile version, just letting you know. Similar to My City Entertainment Tycoon, this game is a great time waster and it's pretty fun to play. The only thing is that it's not as replayable as My City. 8 out of 10. Solar Smash. You know what I'm gonna say. It's a great time waster. And that's what I'm gonna say for the next 2 mobile games. The reason why we have a short section of mobile games is because these were the games I was playing on my phone while I was off in Fiji earlier this year. Honestly, this game is pretty fun to play every once in a while, so I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. City Smash. It's a great time waster, yada yada yada, destroy city, 6 out of 10. City Smash 2. Same thing as City Smash 1, but a bit better, 7 out of 10. Demonologist. Honestly, this is kinda like Phasmophobia, but a bit more difficult. The only thing that I kinda like about the game is the character customization. I didn't play this game for very long, so I can't say too much about it, so I'm just gonna give it a 1 out of 10. Final Fantasy 15. I've never played any of the Final Fantasy games, and basically the only two reasons I got this game was because I thought the modern fantasy mix would be pretty good, and the game also had a Gordon Freeman skin. But when I played it, the voice acting was subpar, driving was, for lack of a better word, stale, the fighting mechanics are just uninteresting, so yeah, I'm giving this a 0 out of 10. I just realized we're 34 games in and this is the first 0 out of 10 game. Universe Sandbox. Ever wanted to launch a bowling ball at the Earth at light speed? Well, you can do that in this game. It is really fun to test and destroy planets in this game. 10 out of 10 game. Also, how the hell is this game still in early access? What the fuck? Mortal Kombat 1. Okay. I've never played any of the other Mortal Kombat games, but this one's pretty fun. The comedy is really good and the fatalities are way better. Like, holy crap, these are some of the most brutal kills I've seen anywhere. Not to mention that Homelander, Omni-Man, and Peacemaker are in this game. And they're not just characters you can fight, they actually have lines and fatalities that match the shows that they're from. The only bad thing about this game is that the fighting isn't that good on keyboard, so I end up playing on controller more often than keyboard. Other than that, this game is great. 9 out of 10. Watch Dogs. Okay, I know Watch Dogs is known as that one Ubisoft series that can never stick to one consistent theme, and yeah, I do agree with that. I played a lot of Watch Dogs 2, and when I played this one, yeah, it was a lot darker and grittier than the second one. The mechanics between the two games are pretty similar, which is a good thing, and I really like Aiden's design. It's really good and, well, I just like characters with long coats. There is one thing that annoys me, and that is the background. It is very pixelated, and I don't know if it's my settings, and if it is, I have no idea how to fix it. Other than that, this is probably a 6 out of 10 game. Watch Dogs 2. From dark and more serious portrayal of Chicago to a bright and funny version of San Francisco. Honestly, I don't blame them. Really, how the hell do you make San Francisco serious? The game is obviously a lot funnier, both in missions and from what the NPCs do. Like, the NPCs are actually really complex. If they're in an accident, they'll get out of their car and argue with people. NPCs will react to stuff like car accidents. And then there's also the police chases, which are really fun. Being able to disable and explode manholes while in a police chase is pretty fun to do. The only upsetting thing is that we can't fly helicopters, which is... why? I mean, there are already NPC helicopters. I mean, imagine how cool it would be if you're in a helicopter chase and you disable the NPC helicopter and watch it plummet to the ground. That would be so cool. Anyway, this game's pretty good, so I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. BioShock Infinite. This game's pretty fun. The graphics and art style are really unique and interesting. The gun mechanics and fights are also really fun. Also, I enjoy the chemistry between the main character and Elizabeth. Then there's also the fact that some of these cutscenes are really good. 8 out of 10 game. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. This game sucks. Horrible shooting mechanics, repetitive gameplay, and a less than alright story. But I'm giving this a 5 out of 10. Why? Because holy hell the cutscenes are hilarious. King Shark and Boomerang are some of the funniest characters ever, and boy is it funny seeing what they get up to. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, or as I like to call it, Microsoft Waste of Time, Waste of Money, Waste of Space. The description alone should let you know how much I hate this game. If you take a look at my playtime for this game, it says I have 53 hours of playtime. 52 of those hours are from me waiting for the game to install. It's quick to install on Steam, but when you boot up the game, oh look, you gotta install more stuff in the game. Why? So it can clog up your playtime and thus make it impossible to get your $100 back. once you actually spend 2 days letting it install 150 gigabytes of stuff, it tells you gotta install more stuff if you actually want to visit certain places. Then there is the flying. The flying on PC sucks and basically forces you to use an Xbox controller, which I don't have, if you want to fly. The controls on PC force you to hold down like 2 buttons on different ends of the keyboard at once. Now, this is the part that really frustrates me. Before I installed the game, I had 300 gigabytes on my computer. After installing it, I had 130 gigabytes on my computer. When I uninstalled it, I had 180 gigabytes on my computer. For those of you smart cookies that know math, this means that I only got rid of 50 gigabytes. Where the hell is the other 100 gigabytes? No clue. I searched every possible file on my computer related to Microsoft Flight Sim and only managed to get rid of an extra 5 gigabytes. So now, I just have 100 gigabytes of junk clogging up my hard drive. Microsoft, I really hope my $100 went to good use at your company. I'm giving this a 0 out of 10. Actually, no. I'm giving this a -1 out of 10 just out of pure spite for wasting my time, money, and storage. Screw you, Microsoft. My dream setup. Moving on from a very stressful game to a much more calming game. What is there to hate about this game? Just create your dream setup. I managed to recreate my bedroom. Yeah, that's my room. The game is really good and it's definitely worth a play. 9 out of 10 game. The Walking Dead. Holy Jesus. This is a great goddamn game. Now, I have never been a fan of the Walking Dead show or comics, but the game? Wow, is the game great. Telltale is just a fantastic game studio and it's truly amazing that they can come up with this stuff. I really love the gameplay and graphics. Character development is also a plus. I do enjoy seeing Lee's and Clementine's relationship grow over the course of the story. This is definitely a 10 out of 10 game. Outer Wilds. Who would have thought that a space exploration game could be this good? The music is really calming and strangely fits this type of game. Controlling the aircraft is also really fun, and every mistake you make is something that you'll learn from and fix next round. Exploring planets is also fun and enjoyable. The only thing that is kind of bad is the story. I mean, it's just so forgettable. I don't see a point to doing the stuff that we're doing in the game, but I don't exactly care. I enjoy doing it anyway. 9 out of 10 game. Life is Strange 2. Okay, I already made a video about Life is Strange 2, but basically to sum it all up, I think that Life is Strange 2 is a great game, but a bad sequel to Life is Strange 1. If you're still confused, then go watch that video. Anyway, this game does have its moments, but ultimately there are a lot more boring and uninteresting segments in this game compared to Life is Strange 1. Also, this game doesn't give off that same nostalgia that the first game had. And my main problem is that it doesn't feel like a Life is Strange game. Not to mention that we, the player, don't get the power. And instead, it's our little brother that gets the power. And we got to go through the whole story watching him use the power. Even though this game has its problems, it still has its perks. Like, there are a lot more cooler scenes in this game compared to the first one, and it does have its heartwarming moments. Now, I would give this an 8 out of 10, but because it killed the dog, I'm deducting a mark. Like, yeah, in Life is Strange 1 you could kill the dog, but at least you could rewind and prevent that from happening. So I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. Just Cause 3 Multiplayer. Just Cause 3 is a really good game, but its multiplayer? It's crap. For one, there are no NPCs in the world, at all. Most servers are empty and the most amount of players you will ever see in a server is like 2, which also happens to be the server with the highest ping. And then there's the fact that it is so hard to join your friends in the game. So yeah, Just Cause 3 multiplayer is trash. Even though it's free, it feels like a ripoff. 0 out of 10 game. Just Cause 3. Unlike its multiplayer, Just Cause 3 is fantastic. This is the best Just Cause game in the franchise. The destruction is great, the world is beautiful, the detail is amazing, and I love being able to fly around the map and drive around it as well. The story is also really good. The only problem I have with it is that once you've completed the story and unlocked everything, the game gets boring. Like in Just Cause 4, there was still lots to muck around with once you've completed the story, but here, all you can do is restart. I'm giving this game an 8 out of 10. Dead Island 2. Holy moly, this was one gore-tastic game. One hit and that zombie is brutally split in half. Dead Island 2 was well worth the 8-year wait. The game actually looks on par, maybe even a bit better than the trailer released back in 2014. The characters are really funny and enjoyable, and that main menu music, man, I don't even want to boot up the game, I just want to listen to that music. The only downside to this game is just how difficult some bosses can be to fight. It took me so many tries to defeat that wedding boss. This game is definitely an 8 out of 10. Gone Home. This was one great game. I didn't think that when I would boot this game up, I would be hit with such an emotional roller coaster. The music and voice acting is just so nice and nostalgic. I really like how the house is shown to be this big scary house through the game and some voice lines, but to the main character, it's home. That ending as well, God, words cannot describe the emotions I felt when I first experienced that ending. There was just one thing I'm not a fan of. The price tag. This game is $21, and on my first try I beat the game in 42 minutes. Second try I beat it in about 50. This game is about less than an hour in length and doesn't have heaps of content, yet it has such a heavy price tag. If it wasn't for the game's price, I would give this a 10 out of 10, but because of that, I'm lowering it down to a 9. You should still definitely give this game a go. City Skylines 2. I played the first City Skylines on my PS4 and it was really good, and I enjoyed it. It wasn't as good on my PC though, but it was still fun. City Skylines 2 carries that tradition. It is still a really fun game. The graphics look amazing and there's a lot more bigger structures to place. This game is really fun. The only downside to the game is that the city's population will just constantly complain even when I fix their problem. Then there's the fact that most of the time when I place down some buildings, they don't build. Like, I wish there was just a game mode where you could just paint a city and not have to worry about maintenance. This game is probably a 7 out of 10. Mimic Search. This game is really good. I love those low graphic VHS style horror games. This game's whole atmosphere is scary and off-putting. Like something is waiting to jump out at you and scare you. The only thing I don't like about this game is that it can be a bit unclear on what to do, especially towards the ending. This game is probably a 7 out of 10. LA Noire. Honestly, this is one of Rockstar's more underrated and forgotten games. The game still holds up, and I love looking at how amazing the facial animations are. And I also love being able to suss out criminals, even though I suck at it. I would give this a 7 out of 10. Life is Strange Before the Storm Farewell. Again, with all the Life is Strange games being amazing. While this game is mainly just a walking sim with all the choices having little to no effect on the actual game, it's still nice to see younger versions of Max and Chloe interact with each other, and it's also pretty cool yet sad to see how they handled William's death at the time. One thing I'll point out though is this little mistake. In the first Life is Strange game, we're shown that this is what Max and Chloe look like at the time, even though in Farewell, this is what they look like. And that photo isn't taken before Farewell, as in the actual Farewell game, we see that this is what they look like in younger versions of themselves. So yeah, just thought I'd point that out. Anyway, I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. Grand Theft Auto 4. Grand Theft Auto 4 is still a really fun game to play. The missions are fun, messing around with the NPCs are fun, the cutscenes are probably the funniest in the whole series, and of course, crashing cars. Grand Theft Auto 4's car destruction physics were way ahead of its time. It's still really fun to just slam into another car and see the outcome. There is one thing that bugs me though, and that's the fact that the map looks so gloomy. Yeah, New York is like that, but man, it's just depressing being in this dark and gloomy city the whole time. I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. The Last of Us Left Behind. Just like the original Last of Us, this one was fantastic. It's nice to be able to see Ellie's origin and her best friend, and there's also something about the mall that's just nice. I don't know what it is, but I like it. The ending as well was great, so here I am giving this a 10 out of 10. City Skylines. Okay, so I don't know why, but I hate playing this on my PC, but love playing it on my console. I don't know why, but yeah. This game is pretty fun to play. I do enjoy playing and building cities in this game and being able to destroy them with the Natural Disasters DLC. There's also some issues I have with the game, and that's the fact that it looks too cartoony. I preferred City Skylines 2's more realistic looking design, and then there's also the fact that the buildings look a lot smaller, which is something that City Skylines 2 fixed. So I'm giving City Skylines a 6 out of 10. Goat Simulator. What can I say? It's a perfectly accurate simulation on how goats behave. The only thing that upsets me is that I couldn't play on the Blackwell map. 9 out of 10. Goat Z. I don't know if I should say Goat Z or Goat Z or Goat Z. I'll go with Goat Z because it's easier and doesn't sound like a shock image. Goat Z was actually a pretty fun and funny game with all its obstacles, game modes, and references to different zombie media. 9 out of 10 game. One-Armed Cook. This game is very fun to play with friends. Rushing to cook and make orders while having to deal with rats, overcooked food, and angry customers, and getting orders right all while doing it one-handed, it's really fun. This is definitely a game I'd play with a party of friends. 10 out of 10 game. Mafia 3 demo. I remember playing Mafia 2 and never liking it. I played Mafia Definitive Edition and that one was pretty good, so here I am with Mafia 3, which is also pretty good. I respect the game for using language of the time, rather than being more politically correct, as they focused on being more historically correct. But still, I didn't find this game very interesting, so I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. Super hot. Words cannot describe my feelings for this game. No, really. I cannot think of any interesting ways to describe this game. The mechanics are really fun, the story is something new, and honestly, this is a really fun game to play. The only problem is that the game gets boring once you've finished the story and most of the challenges, so I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. The Quarry. Yet another choice-based game, and just like the others, it was great. Most of the characters are funny and enjoyable. The story, while clearly inspired by Until Dawn, is really good. The music as well is fan-goddamn-tastic. The endings as well are really good, and basically every choice you make will impact your game. I do have a couple problems though. Remember how I said most of the characters were funny and enjoyable? Yeah, some of them weren't. Noah has an annoying voice and personality. Emma is just a bitch. Caitlin is so goddamn full of herself, and then there's Max. I don't know why, but I just hate him. Also, there's some points in the game where the characters react weaker than what they should. Like, there's a scene where Nick turns into a monster right in front of them, and they act like this is something he does every week. But with that all out of the way, I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. The Stanley Parable. I was gifted this game about 2 years ago and rarely ever played it. I decided to reinstall it after I started getting into choices games again, and since this is a choice related game with multiple endings, I chose to give it a try. Now, I really tried to find some sort of enjoyment out of this game, when all you do is walk around and choose what path to take while being forced to listen to this annoying narrator the whole time. Also, the endings are pretty lackluster, so yeah, I'm giving this a 0 out of 10. Half-Life 2 Episode 1. I don't exactly have anything to say about Episode 1 that I didn't already say about Half-Life 2. It's just a good follow-up. 9 out of 10 game. And after that, we have Half-Life 2 Episode 2. This one was definitely a bit better than Episode 1. There were a lot more action-packed and funny scenes here, and of course, the ending. It's simple, not too over the top, and it really fits the Half-Life games. Again, everything I said about Episode 1 and Half-Life 2 applies here. 10 out of 10 game. Red Faction Armageddon. I'm amazed at how the devs managed to make blasting aliens in an underground cave while blowing stuff up unentertaining. The whole story is just repetitive and there's very little things to blow up in the cave. You literally just jog around a cave while shooting at the same 2 alien variants for 70 minutes. The only time I slightly enjoyed this game was at the start when it was teaching me how to blow stuff up and rebuild it. This is a 0 out of 10 game. Red Faction Guerrilla. Now this game was definitely a lot better than Armageddon. It's not very repetitive and there is a lot more freedom to what you can do. And of course, the destruction. Other than Teardown, this game has some of the best global destruction I've seen in a video game. It's really satisfying to see buildings just crumble down in a realistic way. The only thing that sort of bothers me is the story. I don't know anything about it. This isn't exactly a game where you pay attention to the story, so yeah. It's still a really good game though, so I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. War Thunder. After hearing every goddamn YouTuber under the sun get sponsored by this game, I finally caved in and decided to give it a try. Honestly, this game has a lot of good features, but I just don't like it. It's not exactly a game for me. Flying a plane is difficult. Driving a ship is, well, as interesting as driving a ship. Tanks are pretty alright, but the movement speed makes the whole thing largely uninteresting. I can commend the devs for making a game of this scale free, but it's still not my type of game. 1 out of 10. Far Cry 3. Where do I start with this game? No, really, I'm running out of ways to introduce each game in a unique way. The driving and fighting is pretty good, and the characters are definitely enjoyable and at times funny, especially Vaz. And the game has a pretty good choice of music. The only thing is that it isn't the type of game I'd find myself coming back to a lot, so I'm giving this a 5 out of 10. Once Human. Wow. I was expecting a lot more from this game. From what is shown on Steam, it would be understandable if this game looked really enticing. However, once you load into the game, you get nothing but weirdly designed and overcrowded maps, a constant reset every 6 weeks, and very few servers that will actually allow you to connect to it. The only thing this game has going for it is its crazily good character customization. Other than that, the game is really bad. 1 out of 10. Half-Life Blue Shift. Honestly, you know what I'm gonna say about the Half-Life games. The mechanics are really good, the world is really good, and the characters, well, in this one, they're less than memorable. 7 out of 10 game. The Finals. This is one really fast-paced game. Miss one shot and it could be the end of you. The destruction in the maps is really good, and it's fun to use, especially when you can use it to your advantage. The only thing I'm not a fan of is that it's a little bit pay to win. There are a lot of weapons you can buy that can increase your chance of winning in the game. Also, this is most likely not intentional, but I always end up getting matched on a team of newer players, while the other team is a bunch of pros. Honestly, I probably would have played a lot more and been a lot better if it wasn't for the fact that I got this game right around the time I started playing a lot more TF2 again. I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. Fears to Fathom Woodbury Getaway. I swear, the Fears to Fathom series is a really good series of horror games, and part of me wishes that it would continue. The stories are really good and oftentimes relatable. It doesn't help that maybe the stories are based on true events. The jump scares are simple but are always scary. There are always lots of intense and scary moments in these games, not helped with the amazing music and atmosphere. My only problem with this game, especially the newer ones, is that there will be long parts of the game that don't have anything scary about them, mostly just doing repetitive tasks. The first 3 games were short and sweet, with just enough of everything. The 4th and 5th games are a lot longer and thus can't always have something scary constantly happening. So instead the devs fill the non-scary scenes with unnecessary filler. In fact, there seems to be parts of the stories that are touched on a little bit but never exactly explained. I would recommend giving this game a try, but it's not a game I would keep. 7 out of 10 game. The Complex Found Footage. This game looks amazing, sounds amazing, and is amazing. The movements are really realistic, with the slow build-up of pace in the running and the time it takes to crouch. I wouldn't be surprised if someone used this to make one of those backrooms found footage videos, because that's how realistic this game looks. The good graphics mixed with the VHS filter really sells the look. The only thing I dislike about the game is that there are very little scary moments within the game. There was one moment where maybe a backrooms monster peered its head around a corner, but I'm not sure if that was the game loading in stuff or an actual entity. Other than that, this is a 6 out of 10 game. El Juego. Now I know what you're thinking. What the hell is El Juego? Well, let me explain. El Juego is a game I created. You see, earlier this year, for an assignment, I was tasked with creating a short 2D platformer game using Game Maker, and this is what came out of that. Yep, all that music is copyrighted. Anyway, to avoid any bias, I'm ranking this game based on the mark I got for this assignment, which was 80 out of 100. For this, I will give it an 8 out of 10. Half-Life Opposing Force. Well, now I've played every single Half-Life game. Not this year though, as I played Half-Life Alyx a while ago. But anyway, this game was very unique compared to other Half-Life expansions. Half-Life Blue Shift was basically an extended Half-Life, while this one was way more. It introduced new enemies, weapons, NPCs, etc. The only thing I'm not a fan of is the wrench. It's a lot slower and doesn't seem like it does much damage. The crowbar was much better. 9 out of 10 game. Life is Strange Episode 1, Original. I don't have anything to say about this that I haven't already said in my Life is Strange Remastered review. I played this episode while I had free time at school, so yeah. There is one thing I have to say though. Not sure if it's the game or the laptop I was playing on, but there's a glitch where the icons to interact with something will only appear if the character is standing in front of them. Other than that, this game is great, so 10 out of 10. Minecraft Education Edition. So my school rarely uses Minecraft Education Edition, and when we do, we don't really use the actual educational features in the game. But it is nice to fool around with those elements, but ultimately, to me, this is basically the same as regular Minecraft, so 6 out of 10. Destructive Physics. This is a pretty fun game to mess around in if you're ever bored. It's fun to change the environment, maps, or weapons of your choice to see how the buildings handle it. So while this game may not be a game you spend hundreds of hours in, it's still a pretty fun game to play every now and then. I'm giving this a 6 out of 10. The Backrooms Expedition. Most of what I said in my complex found footage review holds up here. The movements and the graphics are really good, with the addition of voice acting and cutscenes, which are also really good. It also had a pretty good jump scare that got me. Uh-oh! No! No! I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna get jump scared. What the f***? Oh my god! What the... Oh! Oh, that is not funny! There is one problem though. It seems like the devs put little effort into the actual world. There are constant loops and dead ends, and most annoyingly of all, there's this large open area where you're clearly not meant to be that can even cause you to fall off the map. And this isn't like a small area hidden off in the map, it's a large opening in an easily accessible part of the map. If the devs had cared a little bit more, this game could have been much better. 4 out of 10 game. Control Ultimate Edition. When I heard this game was a destruction game, I thought actual good destruction. Instead, it's just breaking props and making holes in wooden walls. The combat is also rather basic. Not saying it's bad, but I've seen way better in other video games. The story and cutscenes are rather uninteresting and less than memorable. The building we're in is so depressing, and it makes me not want to be there. And maybe that is the point, yeah, but still. Make it a little bit less depressing so the player can actually enjoy it. Also, the navigational map we're given in the game is so confusing. It doesn't make it clear which level we're on. The only thing this game has going for it is Jessie's design. I think she looks pretty cool if you ask me. This is a 1 out of 10 game. Beyond Two Souls demo. I won't talk much about this demo as I'm going to go into the actual game very soon, so I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. Rocket League. This is the ultimate play with your friends PlayStation game. It's really fun with its engaging gameplay and mechanics. This is just the perfect game to play with your friends. 10 out of 10 game. Maximum Override. This is a pretty fun game to play. I love being able to control a vehicle and slam it into a building, similar to that of the game Driver San Francisco. It is always really cool and fun to be able to unlock the big vehicles and mess around with them. I'm giving this game an 8 out of 10. Beyond Two Souls. And here we are with the actual game. And let me tell you, this was one hell of a game. For one, Willem Dafoe is in the game. I remember playing the demo and saying, is that Willem f***ing Dafoe? Honestly, of all actors I'd expect to see in a video game, Willem Dafoe was not one of them. Anyway, enough about Willem Dafoe. The whole spiritual friend Aiden mechanic is really unique and is played off really well. The story is also really good, but I don't like how it's presented in the game. Yes, there is an option to play it in chronological order, but it's still weird how the story that is originally shown is shown in different parts. Sometimes I get confused, like, why is Jodie all of a sudden homeless? Why is she running from the police? Why is she suddenly working for the CIA? This is all because of the random time jumps within the game. Other than that, this is a really good game, so I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. Heavy Rain. I had high hopes for this game. I saw lots of people online praise this game, and also, it's a Quantic Dream game. The same people behind the previously mentioned Beyond Two Souls and Detroit Become Human. However, when I played this game, I was very disappointed. The gameplay was very uninteresting, with mainly completing boring tasks which require you to vigorously shake your mouse. But the thing that really bugs me is the acting. They hired the worst voice actors ever. The acting is so unbelievably dead, it sounds like in movies when the main character is watching a movie, so their acting is intentionally wooden and monotone. That is what this acting is like. I cannot put up with this acting for more than 30 minutes, so I'm giving this game a 0 out of 10. Life is Strange True Colors. Again, just like every other Life is Strange game, I made a video about it, and you should go and watch it. True Colors was a fantastic and way better sequel to Life is Strange than Life is Strange 2 itself. The story and characters are amazing, and I really like how the game set up Gabe's death. The acting is amazing, and so is the singing. This is by far my second favorite Life is Strange game. 10 out of 10 game. Plague Inc. So this is how COVID started, huh? Jokes aside, this is a really good game. Despite the fact the main goal is to literally infect and kill the whole world, it's still a peaceful game to play when I'm bored. I enjoy being able to customize my disease's abilities. The only thing I don't like is the map. Why are some of these countries labeled incorrectly? The borders are incorrect. Some countries just consume others. As a geography nerd, this really pisses me off. 7 out of 10. Life is Strange Double Exposure. This is a very divided game for me. I'm a massive fan of the Life is Strange series, if you couldn't tell already. And let me tell you, this game where Max returns is odd. There are a lot of negatives and a lot of positives. For the negatives, it seems like half the people who worked on this game had no idea what Life is Strange was, while the other half knew everything about it. Max's character is still good, but she just seems like a watered down version of the one from the first game. Next up, I don't like how we're restricted to where we are. In the first game, we're always exploring Blackwell and Arcadia Bay. Life is Strange 2, we're constantly changing scenes. True Colors didn't change a lot, but that gets a pass because that map was beautiful. In Double Exposure, we're either at Caledon or the Snapping Turtle. Next, the game is a hell of a lot more woke. The Life is Strange series has always been a bit woke with the LGBTQ themes, but that was always done well as the characters were figuring out who they were and what they liked. In Double Exposure, there is a lot more LGBTQ plus themes, gender neutral bathrooms, a lot of minorities in this game, which is strange for a small town, and even a trans character. Not that I'm upset with this trans character, in fact I think they handled it pretty well. They actually gave her her own personality and behavior and didn't make her whole personality the fact that she was trans, which is something you see a lot on TikTok. In fact, a lot of things were done well in this game. The story is really impressive with a lot of twists and are excellently shown off, and leaves us asking questions. Some of the characters are really funny and enjoyable to be around. Max's new power is really good and unique, and if the ending is to be true, we will see Max return in another game, which I'm hyped for. So while this game may have had a bumpy start, it definitely picked up after Chapter 2. 7 out of 10 game. Project Borealis Prologue. A nice little tech demo like sure to show us what's to come in the future of this Half-Life fan game. The game looks amazing and it's clear that a lot of care was put into it. Now the game is only like 20 minutes in length, so not much to say, so I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. Streets of Rogue 2 Demo. I cannot wait for this game to be fully released. Since it's a tech demo, it doesn't have a clear storyline, so just wreak havoc. It's very fun to just go around and cause trouble, blow stuff up in a procedurally generated world. This is a really good demo, and like I said, I cannot wait for it to be fully released. 8 out of 10 demo. The Ferry. This game looked really good, and it could have been really good. A low graphic horror game where you are a ferry driver sounds like an incredible idea, and it is an incredible idea. It was just presented horribly. Most of what you do in this game involved you just transporting vehicles from one island to another, which is a very tedious and annoying process since you just sit there and hold the dial for an extended period of time, and you do that back and forth so many times. The game tried to make up for it by having splashes of water occasionally happen in the distance, but that wasn't enough. By the time the final jump scare happened, I'm not paying attention because at that point, I'm just blankly standing there holding down my mouse as I wait to get to the next island. This game could have been really good. 0 out of 10 game. Dead Island 1. Okay, so I didn't really play this for too long, but this wasn't really as exciting as Dead Island 2. Dead Island 2 had some really fun combat with blood and guts going all over the place with every hit. Here, barely anything happens. Now I know this game was released in 2011, but after playing Dead Island 2, it's not as fun. 1 out of 10 game. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. I haven't really played a lot of the Call of Duty games, but this one was very good. The graphics are amazing and looks even better in the cutscenes. The gunplay and mechanics are really well made. The sound design? Wow, did they do a great job with the sound design. The characters as well are really good and enjoyable to watch. The only thing I'm not a fan of is the file size. It's Future Flaming Cow editing this video. At the time I wrote this part of the script, the file size for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 was 146 gigabytes. Now it's literally over 200. The campaign is like 60 gigabytes. Why is this file size so massive? I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. Life is Strange Wavelengths. Okay, this is the strangest Life is Strange DLC, and frankly one that didn't need to exist. Like, the Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit at least had a couple changes that would slightly change up your game in Life is Strange 2. Here, it doesn't matter. It's not like there are multiple endings either, so your choices don't really matter. The only thing this game has going for it is the small novelty of playing as Steph and running the record store, as well as the small callbacks to Before the Storm and even being able to see a grown-up Mikey. This game could have been a bit better if it allowed us to leave the store at certain points, but no, we're stuck to this small area doing boring tasks the whole game. With that being said, the game doesn't need to exist and is basically only worth one playthrough. 4 out of 10 game. The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit. Okay, I moved this one down to be after Life is Strange Wavelengths, which is something I really didn't want to do because so far, this list has been in chronological order, but I feel like doing this will help me compare it to Life is Strange Wavelengths. One thing I gotta give this game for is the fact that the game actually has a bit more reason to exist, as some choices we make will make little impacts on Life is Strange 2's second episode. As for the other positives, well, you get some pretty wholesome moments if you make Daddy happy. That sounded so wrong, I'm sorry. But that's basically it for the positives. My next question is, why did this kid get his own DLC? At least with Steph, she was an actual main important character throughout the whole of Life is Strange True Colors. Here, Chris is just this one kid who appears in the second episode whose only purpose is for Daniel to have another kid to play with. Next is that I just find this kid's voice annoying. Then there's the imaginary boss fights, which are just dumb and unentertaining. So overall, this is just some dumb novelty DLC with small impacts on the main game. This is by far the worst Life is Strange game, so I'm giving it a 2 out of 10. Portal. If you know me, then you know I do a Portal 1 video every December 9th, and let me tell you, I never get bored of this game. The Portal mechanics are just so fun and the puzzles are really interesting. There's also the funny dialogue lines within the game, so yeah, this is a very fun game to play. 10 out of 10 game. And that concludes our video game list, but don't go just yet, we still have some statistics. This year I played 97 video games. Out of that 97, only one received a -1, Microsoft Flight Simulator. 6 games got a 0 out of 10, 5 games received a 1 out of 10, 2 games received a 2 out of 10, 2 games received a 3 out of 10, 5 games got a 4 out of 10, 5 games got a 5 out of 10, 9 games received a 6 out of 10, 17 games received a 7 out of 10, 12 games received an 8 out of 10, 16 games got a 9 out of 10, and finally, 17 games got a 10 out of 10. The top 5 best games I played this year would be Life is Strange Remastered, Detroit Become Human, Life is Strange True Colors, Cyberpunk 2077, and Team Fortress 2. While the top 5 worst games I played this year would be Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, The Ferry, The Stanley Parable, Just Cause 3 Multiplayer, and Final Fantasy 15. So that concludes our statistics. Now we're moving on to our chatting session. Honestly, it's a good thing I did the video games video this year, as my taste in video games really changed after I played Life is Strange and all those other choice-based games. That, and if I did the movies video this year, we'd see a lot of Ana de Armas and X-Men movies. So at this point you might be wondering, since I've done a video game video and a movies video, will I do a TV show video in 2025? And the answer is yes. I will be ranking every single TV show I watch in 2025. TV shows would be a bit more difficult to rank, as how exactly do you rank them? If you watch one episode of a TV show, do you have to watch the rest of it in order to determine your opinion on it? The rules will be a bit more complicated, but I think I've figured it out. I just dropped my water bottle there, sorry about that. So with that being said, that fully concludes me ranking every single video game I played in 2024. Hope you enjoyed the video, comment down below your favorite video game, and I hope you guys enjoy the New Year's.
Open eye, feel the waves cut through me, hypnotized by the sounds I'm breathing in.